Hi everyone, welcome to Live Penguin TV. My name is Jordan, I'm your host tonight, and tonight we are going to be watching the smallest species of penguin, the little penguin, making their way home to Phillip Island in Victoria, Australia. So we'll be able to see them crossing this open sandy beach, waddling in their groups, or waddles as we like to call them, back to their burrows on land. Tonight we are joined by Ranger Megan. Migos, come in and say hello and let us know what you'll be doing tonight.
Hi everyone, tonight I'm going to be monitoring the comments on YouTube and on Facebook. So if you have any questions, put them through in the comments and I'll be passing through your best questions for Jordan to answer tonight.
Hopefully none that are too tricky. Last night, if you were watching, I did pass quite a few tricky questions over to Megan, so we'll see if she gets her revenge on me tonight. So we have this stream running on both Facebook and YouTube every night. We are going to be having some wonderful penguin rangers going through all your questions and comments on the on Facebook within the next 24 hours or so, and answering those personal questions for you. But unfortunately, we don't have the capacity to do that on YouTube. So Megan will be mainly monitoring YouTube tonight, but occasionally she'll be flicking over to Facebook to see if there's any really good questions, which I'm sure there will be. So here at the Penguin Parade, you can see we have a really, really low tide tonight. So we've got a really long stretch of beach, and you can see that we've got a few people over in our grandstands because regional Victoria can actually come to the Penguin Parade and watch these little penguins. We've got a maximum of 50 people who can come and watch these penguins on Friday, Saturdays and Sunday night. So if you see any heads in the live stream tonight, that is exactly what we're looking at. Now, it's because it's such a low tide and there's a few clouds around, but there's still a little bit of clear sky. I think the penguins are probably going to make their way home a little bit later than normal. So penguins are going to be crossing all the way along the beach tonight, but this is the main pathway that we are going to be watching from this evening, Penguins Plus. And this is where we get about 60 to 70% of our overall penguins making their way home across the beach. So I'm going to just scan in. I thought I could see something at the water's edge. Is it a rock or am I just imagining it? I thought we might not be a penguin, but it could be something else. No, it's just a rock. Never mind. So because we do have quite a low tide tonight, the penguins are currently going to be out in the ocean making their groups out at sea called a raft of penguins, making a very familiar sound, which a lot of you would have heard, and I've been seeing a few of those words coming through the comments, and that is huck, huck, huck. So huck, huck to you all. That is penguin language. Then they are out in the ocean forming these groups, these rafts in the water, trying to find each other so that when they come up to the beach, they can cross the beach in numbers. They've got lots of friends with them and they can feel nice and safe because there is safety in numbers. Now we've got a fairly flat ocean tonight, so I'm hoping we might be able to see some rafts coming in. It just might be a little bit harder to spot just because the tide is so low, so those rafts will be a little bit further away. So just while it's fairly light and we haven't heard any penguins at the water's edge, I just want to keep the camera out here tonight and see if we can spot any kind of shadows in the water, because that will be the penguins grouping together in those rafts going huck, 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 huck. Anyone else out there? Can we go yet? Huck, huck, huck. There we go. We've got a penguin in the room with me. No, it's just Megan. So I thought I'd just keep it out here while I tell you a little bit about where we are here on Phillip Island. So if you have been watching religiously, you'll probably know all of this already. And I want to thank you in advance for what I'm about to tell you and the responses that we've been getting. But here on Phillip Island, we are on Boonwurrung land. And the Boonwurrung people are the traditional custodians of the land here on Phillip Island that they call Malau. And they've called Phillip Island or Malau their home for many thousands of years, coming over to Phillip Island, to Malau, and living peacefully and sustainably with the land and with the environment for many thousands of years, only taking what they needed in a very sustainable way, which is why we have such a thriving wildlife island here on Malau. So I would like to pay my respects to Boonwurrung, their elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge and respect their care for country over so many thousands of years. And now we have the largest colony of the little penguins that make Phillip Island or Malau their home. So I want to extend that respect to any First Nations people who might be watching tonight, and anyone who's also watching that's put in the comments where they're from, the traditional custodians of the land and the kind of native language or the native land that their country is called, but also all of you out there who are trying to live more sustainably on this earth to help protect the natural resources, which of course will end up helping out our penguins as well. So thank you very much in advance for that, everyone. Now, I haven't been able to see any penguins just yet, but just while it's kind of nice and clear, I just wanted to point out directly in front of us, you might be able to see kind of a triangular shaped rock in front of us. That is called Pyramid Rock. I wonder why. And just further than that, we can see the highest point on Phillip Island, which is Cape Woolamai. And every now and then you'll see that there's a bit of a light on top of Cape Woolamai, and that's the beacon that signals to ships that there is land nearby. So if you're seeing a bit of a flash just there, then you'll know exactly what that is. So I'm just going to slowly make my way towards the water's edge, because I reckon it might be getting close to the time that penguins decide to arrive.
So when we do have birds at the water's edge, we have some in front of us at Penguins Plus and some a bit further down the beach as well.
Oh, very good. So we have some birds at the water's... Oh, there they are. I've gone straight past them. Thank you for that, Megan. So every night we are counting penguins here at the Penguin Parade. It's part of an ongoing... Oh, they're running. They're swimming back into the water. They've decided, nope, that is a little bit too scary for me. I'm going to run or swim, waddle back into the water, probably waiting for another raft that's going huck, huck, huck. That's a little bit further back, trying to, oh, there's a few that are joining them from the other side. Good work, guys. Safety in numbers, remember. So we do count these penguins every single night. And Megan, who's our counter tonight?
Tonight we have Ranger Sonia counting.
Ranger Sonia, beautiful. And I'm sure a lot of you will have a very burning question as to how many penguins crossed the beach last night. So I believe Megan has the magic number, and it's a very significant number. So let's hear it, Megan.
So John, last night we had 3,119 penguins.
3,119 penguins. Can you imagine counting so many stacks and stacks of penguins or waddles of penguins as they watch the beach? So last night we had the wonderful Heather counting penguins last night. Tonight it's Sonia, and we normally get very similar numbers between kind of nights. So we're hoping that's going to be a nice big night as well. And look, we've already got penguins quite early here. So very, very lucky. We're just watching them getting buffeted by the waves, and they are definitely making their... They click it. Oh, okay. Just as I say that, they've kind of stopped. I thought they were making a bit of a beeline that way, but maybe they've stopped. I wondered if that's because there might have been another group over here. We can see a few silver gulls hanging out on these rocks. They're not a threat to these penguins. They're just the ones that are in Finding Nemo that go, mine, and they want to steal your chips and your popcorn. So these penguins, what are you doing, guys? That's an interesting spot to kind of start crossing the beach from. I wonder if they kind of washed up a little bit far west and they are kind of readjusting at the moment. So normally we get penguins starting to cross. I will come back to them, just bear with me. I want to make sure we haven't missed any penguins kind of just over here. No, not yet. All right, let's go back to them, and Megan will let me know if any more significant groups start crossing. So Sonia, if we have as many penguins as we did crossing the beach last night, she has a massive, massive job ahead of her. If she is able to radio through the numbers of each group crossing the beach to Megan, Megan will let me know, but please bear in mind these are lots of penguins coming through, so we might not be able to get those numbers, but if Megan does hear it over the radio, she will definitely be sure to let us know, and I would love to have your predictions in the comments as to how many penguins you think crossed the beach in that group. So they're just hanging out in the water, a little bit too nervous to cross the beach just yet, and that is for a very, very good reason. So these are the smallest of the 18 species of penguins in the world, and it's a little bit hard to tell so far away and on this camera, but they're the only penguins in the world with navy blue feathers. So they're not black and white, they're navy blue and white, and the blue feathers on their back help them camouflage in the water. Look at the just getting buffeted by the waves. Helps keep them protected from any predatory birds flying above when they're in the water, because their blue backs help them camouflage, help them blend into the surface of the water. So what these penguins have worked out, that if they need to come back home, if they spent all day or a few days or a few weeks fishing out in the ocean, if they want to make their way home back to land, they have to do so when it gets dark. So when those predatory birds decide to go to bed for the night, because it's a very, very low tide tonight, which means these penguins have a really long stretch of beach to cross before they make their way home. And so they have to do that under the cover of twilight or darkness, when those predatory birds such as whistling kites, swamp harriers, sea eagles, Pacific gulls, so the bigger versions of those silver gulls that we saw just before, they know those birds have gone to bed for the night, which means they can cross the open sandy beach and not worry about getting swooped down on. So that's kind of what they're waiting for at the moment. They're very keen to get home, but they're not keen to make their dangerous dash across the beach just yet, until they know that it is dark enough that those birds have returned to roost for the night. So there's quite a sizable number of them. They're kind of crossing between a raft and a waddle, because, like I said, out in the ocean they are called a raft of penguins. There's one that has decided to stay on land while the others are kind of getting sucked back by the waves. But as soon as they start crossing the beach, they are called a group, or we like to call them a waddle of penguins here at the Penguin Parade. So hello all you waddle watchers out there. I hope you're excited to watch lots of waddles make their way home tonight. So I don't think they're going to be going anywhere just yet, because the tide is so low. Like, look at this open expanse of beach that we have. It's going to be quite a marathon for them to cross tonight. So normally the penguins, the biggest groups, come out just over here, but I still don't think I can see anything. These guys are still hanging about. I think they're readjusting and kind of moving their way back to the ideal spot to cross around Penguins Plus. So I did mention that we have about 32,000 of these little penguins living here on Phillip Island, and the Penguin Parade is managed by Phillip Island Nature Parks, which is the organisation that employs Megan and I and looks after these penguins, and we're a conservation non-for-profit organisation, so we get most of our funding to help protect penguins and other threatened species here on Malau, on Phillip Island, through ecotourism. So we're really, really excited to be able to welcome back regional Victoria to see these little guys and start generating some income for our conservation, education and research projects. But if you're living in Melbourne, if you're living in other parts of Australia and can't visit us, or even over the world, if you would like to help us protect these beautiful little guys for many years to come, you can donate to the Penguin Foundation. The link is just in the description below, and there's a few different options that you can choose from. You can adopt a penguin, and you can did I say Dr. Penguin? You can adopt a penguin and name it whatever you like. We've been seeing some really creative names coming through from people who have already... Oh, is that a raft coming? Or is that just a wave? I'm not too sure. You can become a penguin pal, and you can adopt a little kind of plush toy, or you can just make a one-off donation. Any spare change that you have to help support these penguins. So the Penguin Foundation does a lot of really great things, which includes funding our wildlife hospital, which helps take care of sick and injured native wildlife, including penguins. And it's also funded a lot of research projects that help us learn more about penguins and their challenges on land and here out in the ocean. And the ongoing research is so important, because you guys are asking 1,000,001 questions on these streams, which is fantastic, but we wouldn't be able to answer them if we didn't know about penguins. And that is what donating to the Penguin Foundation does. It helps us learn more about penguins so we can answer your questions and figure out more ways that we can protect them. Now, okay, looks like this group that's just kind of washed off have started to split up. So I wonder if that's what was going on before. It looks like we've got a group hanging out just near the rocks over here, but again, they're not very keen to move on. It's still a fairly small group. Now, I hope I'm not going to make you too seasick, but I'm just going to zoom out and make sure we haven't missed any penguins crossing the beach, just because it is such a long stretch of beach tonight. I don't want anyone to, while I'm zoomed in, get out of my camera shot, but no, I think we're still good. We haven't had official start yet or anything, have we, Megan?
Not just yet, Jordan.
Not just yet. So the penguins are very, very nervous, and I don't blame them. With that low tide, they have such a long stretch of beach, and they want to make absolutely sure that they are not going to get swooped down on by any predatory birds. Alrighty, is that? Oh yeah, that's a seagull over there. It's a silver gull that would love to eat some chips or some popcorn. But over here we have a very small tentative group of penguins, a waddle of penguins. But there's not too many of them. They would have to be very, very, very keen to cross the beach just in this small group if they wanted to go so early. But it wouldn't surprise me if something kind of scared this little group over here and they'd end up running or waddling back into the water and then starting to recross the beach in a nice big group. Because I think by this time last night, the penguins had already started crossing the beach. I think it was just kind of after 8 o'clock, was it, Megan?
Yes, we had penguins coming in at 8:02 last night.
8:02, so they're a little bit late. It's now 8:06 in Melbourne time here. But you can tell these penguins hanging out just over here. They must have things to do and places to be. There's still a few hanging out in the water. What is going on over here? So because the penguins are making us wait a little bit longer, it looks like our stream will probably run a little bit extra longer tonight as well, because we want to make sure we have plenty of time watching the penguins crossing the beach rather than just kind of watching them wade around at the edge of the water, which means we'll probably be able to answer a few more questions as well tonight, everyone. So I've seen Megan writing a few of them down so far, so we might go to a question now. So at any point throughout the stream, if you have a question, comment, please chuck it in Facebook or YouTube, and we'll do our best to answer them on the air. So let's have a question, Megan.
So Jordan, you were talking about how we protect our penguins here at Phillip Island Nature Parks, and Samuel, aged 11, would like to know how we actually got rid of the foxes here on Phillip Island to protect our little penguins.
Very good question. So Samuel, was it? Yeah, cool. So Samuel, you probably know that foxes are a feral pest here in Australia. I've just found a few more penguins crossing the beach over a little bit further to the east. So we might watch these guys get buffeted around by the waves while I answer your question, Samuel. So European settlers actually brought foxes over from Europe because they wanted to hunt them for sport. But unfortunately, that had a lot of really bad consequences for our native wildlife all across Australia, but especially here on Phillip Island, because one single fox could kill up to about 40 penguins, 40 penguins in one single night. And in, I think it was about 1985, that's when our penguin colony here was at its lowest, at about 8 to 12,000 penguins, and they were going down so quickly that this wonderful population that we get to see, which is 32,000 strong, this colony was estimated to be completely extinct, so no more penguins left on the Summerland Peninsula here on Phillip Island by the year 2000. Partly due to heavy predation by foxes. So foxes, they have a very specific hunting style that when there's plenty of food around, when it's warm, they just kill in excess, because where they're from, back in Europe, they have very cold, very harsh winters. So they need to have enough food for them to survive the winter. But here in Australia, we don't have those really harsh winters. So there was plenty of food, an abundance of food all year round. So unfortunately, foxes are really, really bad in Australia because they just pretty much kill everything off until it becomes extinct. So that was a really huge issue for us here at the Penguin Parade, because of course we wanted to protect our native species. So foxes unfortunately had to be eradicated from Phillip Island. Getting rid of pest species unfortunately isn't a very nice fuzzy process. These foxes did have to be killed. Mostly they were shot, which is a quick and the most humane way that we have to rid ourselves of these pest animals. But we are officially fox free here on Phillip Island and have been so since 2017, September 2017. And fox eradication works did start back in the 80s, and that is one of the reasons that the numbers did start to climb back up again, as well as a lot of our other native species here on Phillip Island. So I know it's a bit of a sad story, but yeah, it's definitely a necessary process. So I think Megan has just told me that a group has started crossing the beach over here. And I think we might have a number as to, is that right?
We haven't had a number, we've just had an official start to
Oh,
our penguin count.
Very good. So I reckon that might be this group of penguins just over here. Or, did you say where the start of the count was, Megan?
No, she didn't.
Okay, I wonder if it was those guys. Again, I'm just going to zoom out. So it looks like these guys have a few more friends. No one has crossed the beach up here. Make sure no one is hanging out on the resting rocks that we've missed out on. Nope, beautiful. Haven't missed anything, anyone? Okay, let us zoom in on these guys as they waddle across the beach now. All right, you can see that they're a nice kind of closely packed group or waddle of penguins, and they will stay nice and tight and closely packed until they get to that halfway point on the beach, at which point Sonia, our penguin counter tonight, will have a pair of binoculars and she will be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and how many penguins there are in this little waddle. So in the comments, get your counting caps on and let us know how many penguins you think are in this little waddle, and again, I won't promise this, but if Sonia is able to, sorry everyone, if she is able to let us know a number, I will be sure to let you guys know as well, and we'll see who can get the closest guess. One thing that we also love to do here at the Penguin Parade with our Penguin Rangers is try to, we play Penguin Lotto every night, and we have a bit of a go guessing how many penguins we think are going to cross the beach that night, and there's a bit of a chocolate bar in it for the winner. So I think we've said it on the last couple of previous nights, and that was in your kind of families or friend groups, however you're watching these penguins, have a bit of kind of Penguin Lotto yourself and treat yourself. Why not treat yourself to a little bit of a treat for the person who gets the most correct number. Alrighty, so these penguins, now that they've reached the rocks, it looks like they're starting to split up a little bit, and that's quite a common. Oh, look, there's one penguin that's all by itself, just kind of in the top, although it looks like it's going backwards. It's like, nope, I'm not catching up with you guys. I'm going to wait for my friends. You guys are too quick. So yeah, once they start jumping over these rocks, you can see it's a little bit harder to see them. We can still see their little white bellies flashing as they make their way across. But for any predatory birds flying over above, if they see them, what they'll probably do is just kind of huddle down into the rocks, because the dark feathers on their back will help them camouflage very well against these dark basaltic rocks, which were made by cooled lava from many thousands of years ago. Rocks are pretty cool. Geology rocks. Gosh, I'm a dag. Megan's just laughing at me. She's like, John, that's terrible. Cut. Retake that scene. But nope, we are live, everyone, so there is no taking it back. Alrighty, it looks like, these guys, they're kind of stopping. They're well and truly at the halfway point on the beach tonight, and because they have had such a low tide, their hearts are probably going a million miles an hour, because you might have been watching, if you are a regular watcher, and I know there's lots of you out there, so thank you again for watching and tuning in religiously night after night. Oh, yep, here we go. These ones are making a beeline. It looks like we've got Ranger John just down on the screen. He's looking after the people and the penguins that are coming around the Penguins Plus area. They have crossed the open sandy beach. They're well and truly over the halfway point, that magic line where they know there's no point running back. Oh, look, there's another group coming around the side. So you might have to count those extra couple if you have been putting your guesses. Oh, here we go. Into the comments as to how many penguins cross the beach. Look at them go. We zoom in on them just a little bit more. So they're like, yep, let's keep going. We're nearly there. Come on, guys, let's go. Whoop. And let's watch them jump over these rocks. And they're quite impressive little penguins. They're only about 33 centimeters or a foot tall, and they can jump their entire body height. So while that might not seem like a lot proportionally, if you guys all stand up and try to jump up to your head height, I'm sure most of you wouldn't be able to do it. So these are pretty incredible little birds. And look, it looks like we've got the first one starting to cross the beach just over here. Good work, guys. You can see that every now and then there'll be a bit of a leader, and then sometimes they kind of change over. I wonder if that's because they're getting tired, or someone else is like, nah, you're going too slow. Let's keep going. Alrighty, here they are. Good work, guys, for being the first groups across the beach on a very low tide night. It's a very, very tricky night to cross the beach. Now, we've still got our waterfall. You can see the water flowing in the background. So the penguins, I think, over the last couple of nights have worked out that it's not so easy going up that waterfall. They've come up the side because we did see a few of them kind of getting caught in the rapids. Oh, and look, we've got a penguin over here. Are you what I think you are? Are you a shell gritter? Or stopping to have a bit of a preen? If that penguin keeps on going back to the beach, which I think it is, oh, yep, that is a mama penguin to be. That is a female penguin with eggs in her tummy, and she would have been on land during the day. And because she's here so early, I would say that she probably has a beautiful beachside residence, and she's heading down to the beach. She would have been in her burrow, staying nice and warm and safe from any predatory birds flying around. And now that it's dark, she's going to head down to the beach to look for little bits of seashells to nibble on to get some calcium to make her eggshells nice and strong. So wish that mama penguin luck. And we'll keep on watching this first group dive into the little pool that we have just over here. It looks like someone, no, come on, dive off the actual proper one. I think that one was a bit chicken, that penguin. Megan's laughing at me again.
That's not a penguin call, Jordan.
That's not a penguin call. You all know that I love making penguin noises. Well, I love making bird noises, so I will give anything a go. Okay, here we go. Let's see how good this penguin is jumping off the... Oh, that wasn't very graceful. That was a bit of a slide in that one. It looks like we've got two penguins coming along the Penguin Highway. I might be... Oh, yep, here we go. Oh, three penguins, sorry. This is highway number 1, and these are the first 3 penguins to start making their way, zooming their way home on the Penguin Highway tonight. They are very, very keen to get home. Oh, here we go. We've got a few more. Oh, and there's a wallaby. So this is another one. This is a penguin neighbour that we have here of the penguins. It's kind of like the little cousin of a kangaroo. They're a little bit smaller, a bit darker brown, and these guys have a little white tip on the end of their tail, but these are vegetarian. They're herbivores. So the penguins are pescatarian. It almost looks like the penguins are scaring off the wallaby. You can see there is no bad blood between them. They are just zooming on up the Penguin Highway. Although the penguins are really kind of picking up the pace over here. They might have seen the wallaby kind of hopping off into the darkness and they might have got a little bit of a fright. But because the wallabies only eat grass and leaves and little bits of fruit and things like that, they don't worry the penguins. There we go. Look at them zooming on up the Penguin Highway. I might now jump back to the beach and see if we can spot any penguins. Oh, yeah, it looks like we've got another waddle crossing the beach. Ooh, and it looks like a big one. Oh, and they're all spread out. That must make it very, very tough. Oh, here we go. Here we go. There's a nice big group. Nice big waddle crossing the beach now. So get those numbers in. That first group would have been a little bit easier for you to count earlier. But I wonder if Sonia's going to count the... So it looks like we've kind of had 3 waddles of penguins, but she might end up calling... the first one that we saw, the first one, and she might be combining the one that we just saw and this one here as well. So if she's able to, she will be relaying those numbers to us. But we are having penguins crossing multiple different pathways at the same time, which makes penguin counting a very, very tricky job. So yeah, we'll tell you if she's able to make the time for us. And I think Megan's got something to say.
Yes, Jordan. So I haven't been able to get that first number from Sonia, but most people in the comments are guessing that it's around 40. So we'll probably go with something like that. And Michelle would like to know, what is the highest number of penguins we've ever counted in one night?
Ooh.
This is looking like it could be up there.
Ooh, pressure is on Sonia tonight. Look at these guys slowly making their way across. So, and you know what, Megan? I think I might even throw this back to you because I think you were the person who actually confirmed that this was indeed the highest number of penguins that we've had. I remember the first time I was here in the breeding season on my first year, whenever I saw over 1,000 penguins, I was like, oh my God, that's a lot of penguins. But we can have up to a couple of thousand penguins, and I believe the largest number of penguins that we've ever had was over 4,000. I can't recall the exact amount. I think Megan is eager to tell us all, though.
So Jordan, I believe that one was 4,398 penguins, and that was just after I'd started working here, and I thought that was normal because there was like 3,000 penguins coming in each night. It was a terrific breeding season back in 2016.
Wow, so 4,398, is that right?
That's it.
Can you imagine counting penguins on that night? That would have been so difficult. Let us now watch and appreciate these penguins hanging out on the rocks here. So both Megan and I actually started working at different times of the year. So I started in the middle of winter, it's kind of the more quiet period of time here at the Penguin Parade on Phillip Island, because winter is when penguins spend most of their time out to sea. They're not usually molting, they're not breeding, they're not mating. They have no reason to be on land other than to every couple of weeks maybe coming on land to preen their feathers and re-waterproof themselves up so that they can go back out the next morning and be kind of warm and waterproof for the next 4-ish weeks or so. I was only seeing a couple of 100 penguins every night. And again, so anything over 1,000, I thought that was fantastic. But Megan, who started work in the middle of one of the best breeding seasons recorded here on Phillip Island, thought, oh, looks like another shell girder on the top right-hand corner, speaking of breeding seasons. She started where there was regularly more than 3,000 penguins a night. So you can imagine she probably would have got quite a shock in the middle of winter when there was only a couple of 100 penguins coming up. So we kind of started at two very different points of the year. Do you remember what month you started, Megan?
Ooh, November.
November. Okay, there we go. So now we're nearly in November, so she was seeing similar penguin numbers to what we are right now. So very, very interesting to see how our perceptions of large penguin numbers change depending on when you start and what time of the year it is. Let us now jump back to the beach because I know you all love trying to count these. Oh, there's one skedaddling behind. I know you all love watching them as they cross the beach, and there's a few hanging out just on the rocks. I can see a few little white bellies. And as it starts to get a little bit darker and darker and darker, oh, hello, here we go. As it gets darker, it's a little bit harder to spot these waddles of penguins as they make their way home. Poor Sonia is getting no break tonight. Send her your love. Send her all of the luck because these penguins just keep on coming. I reckon if these numbers keep on keeping up, we are going to be having over 3,000 penguins again tonight. Alrighty, let us look at them. Their bellies full of fish, full of pilchards and anchovies, any kind of small fish that they can swallow whole and kind of carry around in their tummy. And if they've got chicks at home, which I would say the penguins that were the most keen to get home in those first couple of groups, they were probably very keen and they were early to come across the beach because they probably had some chicks at home that they wanted to regurgitate their food to. So you might have heard over the last couple of nights that Megan has been doing quite a bit of tracking of these penguins and seeing what they get up to, what the adults are getting up to out in the ocean and where they are going to find their food. And the food seems to be very, very close by this breeding season, which means the penguins, the adults can go out in the morning and come back at night, whereas in previous breeding seasons when our researchers have been tracking the penguins, they might have gone maybe 80 or 90 kilometres out, which means they might have to be out in the ocean for a few days at a time, which means the poor little chickies at home have to wait a little bit longer to find their food. So we're very, very lucky this year that the penguins are hanging around kind of Cape Woolamai or on slightly longer fishing trips. So Cape Woolamai, we actually just saw it where that kind of flashing beacon was a little bit earlier in the night. And some of the other breeding penguins with chicks at home have been heading out to the Victorian desalination plant, which isn't too far away, which they can get there in a day or so. But when we have had penguins heading out a little bit further to try and find their food, that's when they start to kind of come into contact with more and more animals. So some of their predators, which might be the long-nosed fur seal or leopard seals, which would love to snack on a penguin. But because they've got beautiful white bellies, they can camouflage themselves very well against the surface of the water. So when the seals are looking up and the sun's streaming down or there might be clouds above, it's very, very hard for them to see. So they're very well camouflaged from both above and below. But another challenge that these penguins will face when they're out a little bit further trying to find food is they'll come into contact contact with commercial fisheries. So, fishing companies which are trying to provide food for us or for pet food and all kinds of things like that. So if you have a cat at home, everyone loves their beautiful furry children, but if I can ask a couple of things of you guys to try and avoid buying cat food that has fish, so pilchards or anchovies in it, because those are the favourite food for these little penguins, and our population here on Phillip Island is very dependent on the amount of food out in the ocean. So the more fish, the more pilchards and anchovies out there for the penguins, the healthier and the higher breeding success these penguins will have. Now, I think we might have a question from Megan over here.
Yes, Jordan. So if our penguins they're coming into contact with fisheries, Jamila actually asked, have we ever seen a penguin get caught in a fishing net?
Yes, so Jamila, we have in fact had a penguin get caught in a fishing net. So one of the things that we do here on Phillip Island is if there is kind of sick or injured penguins, quite often, not even just penguins, but quite a lot of sea animals do come into contact with entanglements. So whether that's fishing lines, whether it's fishing nets, whether it's balloon strings that people have released kind of balloons up into the atmosphere, and the string ends up wrapping around feet or around necks or around their bodies. So there have definitely been times where we've had to go down onto the beach and rescue penguins because they've been trying to cross the beach with a whole bunch of fishing line or fishing net attached to their body. So if you're a recreational fisher out there, please make sure you dispose of your fishing line, your fishing gear appropriately and responsibly, because these guys will unfortunately get entangled in it, as will seals and whales and dolphins and things like that. So same goes if you're walking down on the beach and you spot any bits of fishing line or anything that you think might be able to become an entanglement for these penguins, for any marine wildlife, do please pick it up if it's safe to do so and put it in the bin, because you'll definitely be doing these guys a massive favour. Alrighty, let us now follow a few of these penguins as they cross the beach. So I did mention that when we do have penguins that do become entangled with fishing line and things like that, they'll end up going directly to our wildlife clinic here at the Penguin Parade, which is funded by the Penguin Foundation. So if you have donated in the past or are planning to do so in the future, that is exactly what the funds do go towards. Do the penguins a very good deed, and that's we very, very much appreciate it if you have donated or are definitely planning to donate to the Penguin Foundation. Now, we've talked a little bit, we've covered lots and lots of topics tonight, but I was hoping that we might be able to spot a few little chicks hanging out the front of their burrows just right here on our Penguins Plus stand. So let's have a look at these two penguins. They are looking suspiciously chicky. And in fact, they are. You can see, zoom in really close. Oh, hello. We've got two siblings by the looks of it just over here. You can see they're a little bit brown and fuzzy. They don't have the beautiful, sleek blue feathers on their backs and white feathers on their belly. Well, they kind of do, but they're a little bit more downy, fluffy, downy chicks. And that one's just having a bit of a scratch over here. They will be waiting for mum and dad to make their way home and give them a belly full of fish. Oh, is this a parent? The chick's like, Mum, Dad, is that you? What's for dinner? I'm hungry. Well, the second one's coming along and they're going to start harassing it. Now, only the parent will feed their own chicks. So even though they all look the same to us, I don't think that's a parent because it's gone straight on past. But sometimes what the parents have to do, if the chicks are just harassing them so much, sometimes the parents just have to run away from the chicks just to get a break, because they go and just will not let up until they are full, which is never. They will always want more food, even if they are full as a goog. So it's lovely to see these very, very fat chicks, which are probably maybe about 4 weeks old at the moment, about the same size as an adult, but they still have a few more weeks to go until they fill out a little bit more, lose and replace those beautiful little downy brown feathers with their adult ones as well. Well, let's have a look out the front of this burrow over here. Can we see anything? No, I thought I saw something there before. Let us maybe jump ahead. I know there's another burrow up here somewhere. In fact, I can definitely see some poo. Or what is going on up here?
I've had some requests tonight, Jordan, for some poo story. We know it's your favourite thing to talk about.
Poo stories. I think I've told you all my poo stories so far, everyone. Well, you can definitely see it looks like the penguins have been doing a little bit of painting at the front of this burrow. You can see some little white streaks just on the dirt over here. Actually, there's a little chick there. You can see it's got a little bit of a ruff around the feathers. And that looks to me like it might be its parent. Oh, maybe not. Oh, poor little chickie. I'll see if I can really zoom in. It kind of looks like it's got a bit of a mohawk. So if you joined in before, yes, you will all know that I love a good poo story. So you can see this one's almost nearly fully grown. This one's saying, please feed me. I'm so hungry. I'm such a good little chickie. Nope. Sorry, sweetheart. No luck. So penguins, we only handle them when we absolutely have to. So if they're sick or injured, or if they're in our study site, we weigh the chicks to monitor their health and development. Oh, getting told off there as well. And so when you do have to handle chicks, oh, are you a parent? What's going on here? Please feed me. Oh, not having any luck, this poor little chick. So sometimes when you do have to handle them and weigh them, there might be a little bit of, what's going on up there? My gosh, it's all happening around this area tonight. The chick's like, give me food. I lost what I was saying. I was talking about poo, I know that. Oh, more fights. Gosh, red hot over here. So last night I embarrassed Megan and I asked her to tell us all about how a penguin pooed right down her shirt. Poor thing. What are the odds of that happening? That was a beautiful little chick that she was holding nice and close to her. Another good poo story that I have was when I was pooed in the same spot, not once, not twice, but 3 times when I was helping Megan keeping a penguin still while she was attaching a little GPS logger on it so that we could follow its journey out into the ocean. But more recently, we've had the pleasure of having a student coming down. She's doing her honours project on penguins down here this year. And I've been teaching her how to handle penguins and how to do our research in our study sites. And it's been really fun. She hasn't really had that much experience with penguins, but she had to very, very quickly get used to being covered in poo. So she was going, yeah, it smells so fishy and disgusting. And Megan and I are like, yeah, that's us every day. So we're very, very used to penguin poo. In fact, if you come close to either Megan or I, if you see us out in the field, I'd probably say don't come too close. 1, because of social distancing, but 2, will probably smell like penguin poo. So I hope that satisfies the poo story question. Oh, look at this, actually. Sorry, what is going on? We've got a bit of, now it's either courting or we are having some mating. Just up here on the way up to the hill, it looks like the female penguin is getting underneath. She's getting a bit of a back massage. And they're having some special penguin cuddles. And it looks like maybe there's a bit of an awkward love triangle, or someone's just watching. Anyway, let's give these guys some privacy and maybe head over to the beach. Hi, Megan. What's up?
We did have a question about the chicks. Do they ever end up in the wrong burrow?
Yes. Do chicks ever end up in the wrong burrow? They absolutely do. So for the first kind of 2 or so weeks, I'll just focus on these guys and we'll give those 2 mating penguins a little bit of privacy. Another shell gritter on the top right-hand screen. So normally for the 2 weeks, mum or dad will switch over duties and keep them nice and warm and safe in their burrow. But after 2 weeks, mum and dad might be able to leave them at home for a day or 2 and go on a slightly longer fishing trip to get enough food for themselves as well as their chicks. So when the adults are away, the chicks can get up to all kinds of mischief. We have, in fact, I think it might have been, it was this week, there was 3 chicks in one burrow and there was no adult home, and it was 2 neighbouring burrows that had chicks of a similar age. So they definitely do get up to all kinds of mischief, and that makes it a little bit difficult for us doing our research. I might just check and see what's going on at the beach at the moment, because we normally, to be able to track penguin or chick weight, we have a chick 1 and chick 2, and to make sure we're always recording the weight for the right chick, we put a little bit of green food dye on the chest of the heaviest chick, so that we kind of keep reapplying this food dye that you might just be able to get at your kind of local supermarket. But when there's three chicks in the one burrow and two of them have green food dye, it's very hard to tell who's the chick 1 for that burrow. So it makes it a little bit difficult. The chicks are very, very cheeky, and they definitely they've got our work cut out for us. Looks like we have stacks and stacks of penguins now coming up over the highway. So let us now just jump up there and see what's going on. Here we go. Look at them all. This is top speed highway number 1. If any of you have ever watched the old Batman movie you know what? I have a story to tell you. Oh my gosh, another story from Jordan. Okay, here we go. So if anyone has seen the Batman movie with the penguin in it, one of my housemate Dean, he absolutely loves Marvel and DC. So he made a little bit of a joke that Batman must be around here because the penguin was a Batman villain. And so when the penguins are running very, very quickly or waddling very quickly, it must mean that Batman's around trying to chase them. Definitely, there is no vigilante in a cape and a bat mask chasing these penguins tonight. I do promise you. They are just very, very quick on the ground. But what I did want to tell you, and I've only just remembered, is that I remember when I was very, very little, and my dad keeps reminding me of this, I went up to Movie World and I went on the Batman ride. And at the time, that was when the kind of Batman movie with the penguin came out. And during this Batman ride, I think I was only about 5 years old, and we were on one of those kind of virtual simulations. We were in the Batmobile and we were chasing the penguin, and I was very, very grumpy at the penguin, and I was telling the penguin off, and I was growling at it. I was going, "Grrr, bad penguin." And now my dad and myself find it very, very ironic that I now work with penguins. So how is that for a little bit of childhood fun for you? Alrighty. Now let us jump back. So Megan has just advised me that we've got about 5 more minutes left in the stream tonight. So thank you for all the questions that we've had coming in. We only run this stream for about 20 or 30 minutes, so we aren't able to get to all of your questions every night, but keep tuning in night after night. Megan and I, as well as Michael and Heather and Anna, will be taking a break for a week, and you will have the lovely Sky and Stephen, I think, being your live stream hosts next week. So keep tuning in night after night, keep asking those questions, but remember, on Facebook we will be getting some penguin ranges going back within the next 24 hours or so and giving you personalised answers to these questions. So never fear if we don't get to your question on the air. But while we've got 5 minutes left, I think we might have time for 1 or 2 more questions, just as we're watching these penguins having a little bit of a preen on the rocks, catching their breath, making themselves beautiful before they head back to their breeding partners later tonight. So let's have another question, Megan.
Ooh, okay, so we have a question from Naomi. She would like to know that since becoming fox-free, have we seen an increase in other wildlife other than just our little penguins?
Good question, Naomi. And yes, we absolutely have seen an increase in other native wildlife, not just penguins, on Phillip Island. So if you've been to Phillip Island recently, you'll see at night, or particularly kind of at dusk and dawn, we have so many swamp wallabies around the place because, foxes aren't able to get their little joeys when they're really little, and same goes with brush-tail and ring-tail possums as well. And a lot of our bird life, which nests on the ground, have really thrived in the absence of foxes. But one thing which we are all really, really excited about, and probably an animal that all the rangers here at the nature parks are probably the most excited about any animal in the world, is something called an eastern barred bandicoot, which looks kind of something just like this. I know what you're all thinking, it probably looks like a rat, but a bandicoot is a type of very small marsupial, and a marsupial is a type of mammal that has a little pouch, just like a koala or a kangaroo or a wallaby. So it's not a rat, even though it looks like a rat. It's about this size, and we have the eastern barred bandicoot here on Phillip Island, and it's a species that's classified as extinct in the wild. So since becoming fox-free on Phillip Island, we are lucky enough to have 2 wild populations of the eastern bar bandicoot living up here with the penguins, and also on Churchill Island Heritage Farm that Phillip Island Nature Parks looks after as well. And in the absence of foxes, because these guys became extinct on the mainland of Australia because of lots of predation by cats, dogs, foxes, and habitat destruction. But since becoming fox free, these guys have really, really thrived here on Phillip Island, and they'll live along very happily with the penguins, and we're all insanely excited, and we cannot wait until we can see one of these eastern bar bandicoots on the live stream so we can talk a little bit more about them. But we've been able to help bring those little creatures, those little critters, back from the brink of extinction. And just like wallabies and that we saw earlier, bandicoots don't actually compete with food for the penguins. They don't injure them or harm them because they look for little bugs and grubs in the ground. So while the wallabies eat grass, they're vegetarian. The penguins are pescatarian. They eat food out in the water. And the bandicoots eat little bugs and grubs, and they help kind of aerate the soil and make it a little bit more porous so nutrients can get through, and it actually helps our native flora, our native plants thrive here as well. So they're great little ecosystem engineers, and we are very, very excited to have them. Alrighty, everyone, so I think it's time to wrap up. Everyone knows that I love to talk, and my 5 minutes usually turns into 10 minutes, and Megan's just given me a very knowing look. She's saying, shut up. No, she's not. She's just used to me talking all the time because we both live and work together. We're work colleagues and housemates. So she's very good at keeping me in line. So thank you so much tonight for everyone joining, and thank you for all of your wonderful questions. We absolutely love it. Stay sane and stay safe. And remember, we would love to have you back here as soon as possible. Hang on, why is this not focusing? Sorry, everyone. I'm going to get a nice close view of them before we go. So we would love to have you joining us here when it is safe to do so, and when you do come to visit, make sure you come say hi. We'd love to know that you've been watching and having a great time learning about all these penguins on live TV. But if you would love to help support us in the meantime, remember you can donate to the Penguin Foundation. If you become a Penguin Pal, get one of these cute little plushies with individually made little knitted sweaters that help keep them nice and warm when they're in your living room. Please consider donating to the Penguin Foundation if you would love to help us protect these penguins and continue the work that we do. And tune in night after night, and hopefully we'll be able to see you very, very soon. Megan will come in and say goodbye, and probably we'll do a bit of a huck off to say goodbye to everyone. So as I said, everyone knows I love to have a good chat about penguins and try to talk to penguins in penguin language. So in the language of the penguins, good night. Huck, huck.
Bye, everyone.
Huck, huck, huck.